My favorite line of the book: "Sorry, it's my first kidnapping. I wasn't sure of the protocol." Katie, the conclusion of Emmy and Bentley. Girl, I need some coffee for this because Emmy works at a cafe, and the default meal of this story, no matter what time of the day it is coffee and sandwiches. I've actually never had that combination, a coffee with a sandwich, but it's a thing apparently. So Bentley is the head of his own company, right? It's this real estate company with his two friends, Aiden and Maddox. So Emmy and Bentley went on their first date and it went so good. But remember those scones that Emmy makes for the cafe? They play such an important role in Bentley and Emmy's relationship. It just really bonds them together. I mean, who knew? Scones from your grandmother's recipe. That's all it takes to lure a millionaire. So their first date, let's just make out before the date even starts because I can't stand the sexual tension anymore. That's how cute they are. It was just love at first sight. They, of course, had, Bentley's bodyguards because there's still a little trouble. They didn't know why someone was stalking him. Well, after Emmy and Bentley had been dating for a little bit, someone had taken a picture of them on the street. So now someone else is stalking him / her. Emmy brushed it off at first, but Bentley's like, no, this isn't gonna work. I need to give you a bodyguard because this isn't cool. This isn't cool. So Emmy now has a bodyguard. Oh, their dating is just full of so much sex and so much all over the place. In their bed, in the shower, on the sofa in the sunroom. That's their favorite spot to have sex. And it's really good and they just really connect, and lots of kisses filled with adoration and hope. I'm not quite sure how to tell if a kiss is filled with adoration and hope, but that's what they have. It's like that level, okay? And then Bentley and his lawyer, Greg, Skeezy Greg, you'll find out. They've been arguing and trying to get this third parcel of land to complete his big idea of what he wants to build. He wants this last chunk of land to complete his building plan for whatever these apartment buildings are. I don't know what the original plan was, but I also got to know that Emmy's luxury food is grapes. She buys apples instead because grapes are too expensive. Why are grapes so expensive? Maybe I just haven't paid attention to how much grapes cost. So Emmy lives in this podunk, rundown, really cheap room above the cafe, right? She can't really afford to do her own laundry, so she goes over to her best friend's house, Cammie. Cammie lives with her older sister, Dee. Cammie is also going to school. Dee is a little older and has her own career. Cammie and Dee serve as Emmy's private laundromat. And that's where she also gets the grapes. So she'll have a few grapes and savor them while she's doing her laundry. Cammie and Dee, they kind of bonded with Emmy, I think, because they are also abandoned by their parents, even though it's half abandoned. Their dad walked out on them, and then their mom eventually passed away. But still, none of these people have parents. Abandoned people just stick together and then procreate, create a new generation of children who won't get abandoned by their parents. And then eventually, Bentley and the BAM dudes start to find out about who is this mysterious person who keeps holding on to this land that he wants to develop. He's trying to pay even more money to get it. It doesn't work. Eventually he's like, fine, I'll just let it go. I'll even sell the other land that I already have. I'll just give up on the whole thing. But that's what they want him to do. Because eventually Emmy gets kidnapped out of nowhere. And it was Greg the whole time. Greg, the lawyer, was deceiving the guys, and especially Bentley, the whole time. It was him who was trying to get back at Bentley for some unreasonable thing, thinking that, being taken advantage of, or he just wanted to be partner in the BAM company, even though Bentley had offered several times. Emmy found out that Greg was involved because when she was kidnapped, they were putting drugs in bottles of water that they were giving her. She's smart, okay? She saw that the seal on the bottled water was broken, and so she's like, I'm not touching that. They kept her in this dark room, tied to a pole, really cold, and Bentley got really, really out of shape. The kidnappers would send him pictures or video footage of her in this dark room with no blanket and like no sweater, no jacket or anything. And he's like freaking out because it's so cold and he doesn't like seeing her cold. Emmy has this problem with being too cold. She always has to have a sweater on, but she was smart to not drink that water. And she would just slowly, pour out some of the water of the bottle so that they thought that she was sipping it. And then when they would come into the room, she would just pretend to be asleep. She overhears Greg's voice in the hallway of this, this whatever warehouse building that she's in, even though she only met him once, but she remembers his nasty, dirty, pedophile, gross voice. And the next time that they record her, she says to Bentley, "Tell Maddox something about Curry." Tim Curry. That was code, this inside joke that she had with Maddox, making fun of what she thought Greg looked like without Greg knowing. They found Emmy, rescued her. They didn't hurt her, but she did try to get away a couple of times and she did fight back. So she just had some bruises and some scrapes. But Bentley, of course, knew of an ER doctor who made house calls, and the doctor put ointment on Emmy's bruises. Like, what kind of ointment do you put on a bruise? I've never put ointment on. Who puts ointments on bruises? I don't. But apparently there are ointments, and this doctor did this for Emmy, and he just went above and beyond service. So Greg the lawyer is the bad guy. The next day it was actually kind of intense because at the end Bentley and Aiden scheduled this meeting. Greg thinks that Bentley's gonna sell the land to him, and he totally got away with it. Of course, Bentley has his own computer hacking skills expert Reed on staff, infiltrated all of this information, gathered all of this information to take to the police. He was gonna he wanted to send him to jail at Greg's office. They all have this big, huge argument. Bentley ends up punching Greg at some point, and then Greg, and near the end of the conversation, they were trying to leave. I'm like, "No, you're not getting the land. I totally got one up on you, and I'm smarter than you, and how dare you go after this innocent woman, and she's the love of my life." And then Greg pulls out this gun and then shoots himself right in front of them, and it scars Bentley. It takes him a while to get over this. He killed himself, a guy that he thought he could trust, his lawyer that he worked with for years. He thought, whoa, what just happened? And then him and Emmy, after all of this, they end up buying that extra piece of land because Greg had a gambling problem, of course. So this estranged sister had to pay off all of this debt that he had. And Bentley's like, "You know what? I'm gonna be the better person, and I'm gonna give her as much as she needs to pay off this debt." It ended up being normal price for the piece of land, and they could go ahead with their original plan to build. Emmy finally agreed to move in with Bentley after all of this happened. They just need to be around each other all the time because they are soulmates. Bentley gave Emmy his mother's pearls, or what was left of the strand of pearls, in this little locket that she never took off. They just loved each other and lived happily ever after with their coffee and sandwiches.